guys, this is Brian with Thunder Laser USA. I just wanted to capture a little bit of what we do behind the scenes. This is our support ticket system, and this is where all of the stuff comes. And I've got someone that's having some trouble with their camera, and so I just initiated um, a link. We can initiate a remote session, either schedule one or start it right from here. We can look and see if any of the warranty parts or regular parts have ever been through our part system, so we can keep track of that. All of the CRM information. So we keep track of everything. We monitor failure rates. We do all kinds of stuff. In addition to the awesome portal, which we leave wide open for everyone to see, uh, with information in it like this. This is our chiller diagnostics and theory of operations article, and it has just about everything you need to completely overhaul that CW5000 series chiller and diagnose it and maintain it. Even the maintenance manuals, the factory maintenance manuals are here, as well as a lot of other stuff. So um, our support system is actually pretty incredible, and as far as I know, one of its kind. If other people have them, they hide them and make you be a user. But ours are open to the public. You're welcome to go in there and use it, even if you don't have a Thunder. There's a lot of non-Thunder specific information in here if you read between the lines. So anyway, I'm waiting to see if she will connect, and I may have to cut um, and pause until she gets connected, and then I will restart and then make sure that it's okay if we record. Okay, and it looks like she has joined the session, but I'm not going to show it yet. I'm going to actually go in the chat window and ask for a good phone number. I'm laughing because I can't type, and I'm trying to get her phone number in there and give her a shout. So you'll just have to ignore me for a second. So I'm going to call in. And hopefully the audio will come through. Hey there, how are you? I'm doing good, doing good. Hey, I'm recording right now, and I haven't shown your screen on the recording. I've left it on another screen, but I'd like to use this for training if I could, and just to show an inner glimpse of how kind of this remote support thing works when somebody needs help. Would that be okay? Okay, awesome. Now, I don't know if I have this thing set up where it's pulling your voice in. And if you could hang on just a second, I'd really love to try to see if I can get that to come in real quick. And
Yeah, if
I
you have access to use my
got it.
microphone on my computer, you're
Okay,
absolutely welcome to.
awesome. And I've got you on. So I'm going to switch over to your screen now, and have that on the recording. And I appreciate you letting me use this for educational and training internally and maybe promotional support. But anyway, so I'm going to
Yeah,
move
no,
some of this stuff out of the way.
whatever you got. I've got like a
And
million Thunder tabs open.
no worries.
I went through everything. Like the last thing I was working on was the overlay like shift, and I
Right.
spent probably about 6 hours yesterday because what happened was so my camera was working great. I know that it has the ability to get like pinpoint accuracy.
Okay.
Um, Something glitched. I don't know. One day while I was mid cut,
Hmm.
LightBurn just like decided it was going to stop working. And
Hmm.
I actually went to the LightBurn forum, was like, it's not sending any data. It's saying it sends a file, and
Okay.
then when I opened the file on the controller, it wasn't doing anything. So, anyways, I had to just completely delete LightBurn and then reinstall it, and it's
Okay.
fine now. But now I can't get it going. So
Gotcha. And I
I'm
think I
I'm
remember seeing that. Now, first of all, in the preview, everything looks really straight. So if everything looks straight to the naked eye, as far as The edges of the bed and things like that. Everything looks pretty straight. So we want to be sure and select standard lens because that is not a fisheye because
Yep.
there's absolutely no distortion.
Correct.
And
Mhm.
that should be the W95 camera. I think it's the 85,
Yep.
but there's not enough difference between the 85 and 95 to change the lens calibration values.
Okay.
So this value should work, and then we're good for this part. Now, tell me when you did this part, did you autofocus the piece of substrate that you were going to output this test pattern on?
I did it with 5 millimeter wood. So do I need to do it like redo it? So right now, what I'm trying to cut this on the bed is laminated paper.
Okay.
Do I need to refocus every
So
time I change substrate?
here's how that works. And let me cancel out of this for a minute. And if it's okay, I'm going to go to Firefox. And okay, we're already in here. Um, basics of focus. The second video in here, the first one's good too. It talks about how focus matters on the thickness of the
Yep.
materials. This second one talks about how our autofocus system plays with the camera. And what I'm going to do is just play this for a minute just so I can get this view up. And then I'm going to maximize it and close the ads and maximize the resolution so we can have a good image of what we're talking about here, a little bit better one. There we go. So your autofocus sensor array, goes across the bed from one side to the other, and
Yep.
it always detects the surface of the material. And the reason is the head is normally stationary because you only autofocus with the
Mhm.
2-inch head when it's in its uppermost position. And so that's always going to give you the same distance because you have that constant there. So the same way with the camera, as long as the camera doesn't move, if you use autofocus with the camera, both when you align it and do the alignment procedure and when you're
Mhm.
using the camera, then you're going to maintain your accuracy because if you start moving away from or closer to the lens,
Mhm.
and don't have that under control, that's where your
Yeah.
alignment gets out of whack. So it's really important for the first time around when you're calibrating to make sure you use autofocus on a real flat piece of material, whatever you want to output this pattern on. And then
Mhm.
it's important to use autofocus whenever you use the camera, except in the case of the rotary. I don't even use the camera to use the rotary, because all
Mhm.
of that's out of whack because you don't use absolute coordinates and you're forced to with the camera, things like that. Um, so if you have a piece of material, we can run through it if you want to give it a shot and do another alignment.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm at this point. I've done everything else that I can think to do.
Okay.
So
Well, sure.
let me
Uh,
move.
let's pop a piece of wood on there. And this is a Nova 24. Okay.
No,
35.
3580.
Okay.
Yeah. That should be sufficient?
That
Yes.
should be good
Or do I
enough.
need to get a
Yeah.
larger? Okay.
Usually the bigger the better, but that's covering a good portion of the bed. And so what we'll do is scale it up to get just to the outside extent, as big as we can get it on the wood without going over. So we'll just kind of play with it a little bit and stretch it out. Um,
Okay.
so I'm going to
That
go.
should be.
Mhm.
This wood should be at 144, I think, when we do the framing.
Okay, for the percentage, for the scale. Okay,
Yeah. Yep. I did it on the other side. Plus,
gotcha.
I've burned through a lot of larger pieces. So,
Hmm. Okay, so we're going to do this. Now make sure you
and I
autofocus it.
to make it. Actually, I'm gonna have to pull it up here.
It that scale was on 295. I don't know if that makes any difference, and it may be
That
arbitrary, but
no, that was when I used a piece that was filling the entire bed.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So it is. Ooh. Huh. All right. It is autofocus now.
Okay. And if you want to click frame, since you're right there close, it looks like I'll let you do it. I don't want to pinch your fingers or anything. And hopefully that'll be on the board.
I'm gonna run that one more time. I think
Okay.
it
I moved your mouse, by the way, because I clicked the air assist on. We're not looking for quality. We keep the smoke down a little
Oh
bit,
yeah, that's
as long as we can see the crosshairs. Talking about crosshairs, I've got an HD 4K 13 megapixel camera that just showed up today that I'm going to start playing with and see how it plays with
really
LightBurn. Yeah, so I'm hoping that
that's
it's gonna
exciting.
be like awesome, like from beta to Blu-ray,
I,
So
the picture when I do the overlay on is not the greatest, and
yeah,
it's worse if I have the garage door open because the light coming in fades it
right.
more.
Yeah, the light
So
does
weird.
affect it. So
Can I go ahead and hit start?
you can, if it looks good to you, go ahead and hit start.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and click next, and that way I can have a live preview of what's going on, at least have a little bit of idea. So yeah, the light can affect it, and also, and I'll show you after we get it aligned because there's a quick check, and you may have seen it in one of the videos where you just draw a circle or an ellipse or something, and then update the overlay and see if it's on, and if it's not, then you can stretch and skew, and that kind of stuff to account for it using those settings. But now here's the thing. Uh, Let me go back to that thing we had pulled up while that's running. So if you wanted to use the camera on half-inch material, for instance, um,
Mhm.
but you use the autofocus, then you're not at your optimum cutting depth, right? So in that case, what I would do is autofocus the material initially so that it's right with the camera and it's true with the camera. And then I would just manually adjust my nozzle and bring it down to the desired depth that you want to focus at, and then tighten it up. Just be sure to raise the lens after you're done back up to the
Yeah.
full stop position, so it'll not have a head crash. So
So normally I don't adjust the lens except for when I do paper
mm-hmm.
because when it's autofocus it doesn't get up high enough to
Gotcha.
be that 6 millimeter distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to drop the. I don't know if you can hear me over
I
the
can.
laser.
I can.
Okay. Um, yeah. Normally I do have to drop it down so that I have that same 6 millimeter depth so that I can
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm not burning a massive like burn
Sure.
path through my paper.
Sure.
But
So,
otherwise, it's usually all the way full stop, like
gotcha.
at the top.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense, yeah.
So you can lift the lid if the light's green, and if it didn't go back home, we can home it, but it looks like it did. All right. That's perfect. So let's capture the image, and it looks a little fuzzy, but no, it doesn't. No, it's looking okay.
No, it's actually yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
was
looks
gonna
pretty
say the
good.
lens was
Yeah.
good, and I just didn't. I didn't burn it quite through.
Ooh, that's undo. You might be better at hitting those if you want to drive. You might have had some practice at it too. And doing this remote connection, sometimes my stuff is delayed, so sometimes I miss. And I don't know if I think it'll let you. You can do these markers in reverse. Do 4 3 2 1, and I think it'll turn your image 180 degrees because you can mount your camera 180 degrees, and as long as you do 1 2 3 4 in that order, it'll fix it for you. It doesn't matter. It's kind of neat the way that works.
Hmm.
Most people, I've had a lot of people. I do it every time I mount a camera. I put it on the wrong way because I don't plug it in and look at it and put a command strip on it first. You know what I mean? Or tape it up for
Oh
a
yeah, no,
minute.
I'm
So the very
too
first one I
OCD
did,
to
I
do
stuck it
that.
on the first time, and then I broke it trying to break it off of there and put it in a different spot. So
Oh shoot. No, we taped it like with just scotch tape when we were putting it up to make sure it was right
sure,
first before I committed
yeah.
to where I was putting the command stuff.
Work smarter, not harder, right? So what do you think about the machine so far?
I do love it. I've been most. I haven't gotten as much playtime on it, and I still have the rotary that I bought with the machine that I
Hmm.
haven't even
Yeah.
tried to plug in
Yeah,
yet.
that's an ATM machine, especially if you're doing like 5, 10, 15, 20, 1,000, however many. Once you set it up that first time, the workflow is so smooth, it's incredible. So, and the rotary is
So
plug and play, so you don't have to turn the machine off or switch buttons or unplug connectors or do any of that kind of stuff.
I
All
think
right.
we're good there. But as far as the machine goes, so my husband has decided to monetize it for his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He's military, and he voluntold me to make 600 woodcut medallions of their company logo. So
Nice.
I spent, and it was engraved. It was a relief
Mm-hmm.
engraving. So that
Mm-hmm.
took me a long time. That
Oh,
was about
okay.
it was about 3 weeks of like off and on use. So
Gotcha.
it's gotten good use and it looks great.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of military stuff.
Right.
We're in Kansas at Fort Riley, and so
Okay.
like it's a big installation, and unfortunately, good, bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
His stuff got seen by other companies, and now I'm getting a lot of requests for other things.
Well,
So
hey,
it's been good.
yeah,
We like
absolutely.
it.
That's a good problem to have. So,
Yeah.
uh, so if you don't mind, you might want to shut your lid for a minute. I'm just going to output this ellipse or this circle. I think I held shift, so it
Yep.
might be a circle. And if you'll let me know, well, I'll let you actually hit the start button. I don't want
It's
to
close.
fire your laser. I'll let you fire it since I'm weird about that.
Oh, you know what? It's not. Did you want it just an engraving,
It's no, that's a
or did
line
you
is
want it
fine.
cut?
Line is fine. Just a etch.
Okay. You could update the camera control, and it'll show that on there.
Okay. All right. So let's dig in here a little bit.
Hmm.
And it is just a skosh off. Now, do you have wire ties, zip ties around the camera mount on either side of the lens body to secure that in place so the camera doesn't move on the mount?
Not on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not. Well, it is actually zip tied. Sorry, the little black sticky things that are there, and then those are zip tied down. But the camera itself, like it's just that 3D printed mount.
Okay.
That probably doesn't make a lot of
Let
sense.
me. It does. Let me see if I can find a picture.
There's a little square sticky mounts
Okay.
that you put the zip ties through.
All right.
Yeah,
Do you see this?
those.
Do you have wire ties here and here on your camera?
No.
You need to. Those clips don't
Okay.
stay, and the camera shifts around in there every time you open and close the door. So you've
Okay.
got a camera shifting problem. Either that, or your bolts are loose on the hinges, or something like that. Something is changing
Interesting.
the position of that camera when you open and close the lens, open and close the lid. I think that's what's going on.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because I never had the issue before
Mhm.
having to reload
It may have been in
LightBurn.
place. Oh yeah, the LightBurn thing. I think honestly, I think that was a coincidence. Um,
Hmm. Okay.
this thing that we're seeing here with it being off right after doing the calibration and not even touching the wood, this is textbook. Camera placement is changing somehow, and I'd say to be in that mount because you can probably slide it around in that mount.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can.
it can't move at all. I mean, it has to be perfectly still. So if you just put some wire ties like it's shown in there, that'll take care of that problem.
Well, I found some wire ties. I'm gonna tie it down right this second.
And then we can just slide that board over a little bit just to offset it enough, and we'll shoot that pattern again since we've got it set up already, and reshoot the calibration, and then you should be dead on. Oh wait, don't do anything. Oh, you already did. Let me.
Oh, I can cut it off.
You had some shifts in here. I didn't see those. I bet it lines up. It's close. Look at that. I took your adjustments out. You see, your adjustments were still in
Mhm.
place.
Well, that yeah, and that was from me trying to mess with
Yeah,
it.
because it got a whole lot better when I put everything back to zero. I think part of it was that our overlay's been shifted the whole time.
Well, I also bumped the camera just now while I was.
Okay, all right.
Oh no, you mean on the screen where the update was overlaid? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, where the width and height and the X and Y shift had been altered a little bit. Yeah, so we had to have those at zero, and I didn't catch that. We should have had it at zero when we did the alignment because what we were looking at would have been off by whatever these values were that were entered. So it's
Okay.
still good to put those ties on there because that's always a problem eventually. So now you won't have to worry about the mount. Everybody really says, those are cheap 3D printed mounts. Yeah, they are. But we've only had a couple of them ever mess up, you know. So the failure rate is extremely low on them. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just put some wire ties on it.
Zip
So
ties and duct tape fix everything.
absolutely, and it is a permanent solution. We don't get callbacks after that. So
All right. Well, it is zip tied up. I can scooch that board over a bit, and we can
okay,
run the.
yeah, we'll recompute that just to make sure that we're on. I'm so certainly glad that we recorded this. This is going to be a great session.
Yeah, I mean, if my mistakes can help somebody else with some headache, yeah, we don't want to land on the FaceTime camera. All right.
And looks like everything's still, except for this, we need to get back up to 500, and let's kick the air back on because that wasn't a bad thing. And I think I was more like 30 on the power.
30. Yeah, I just want to frame it real quick if you don't mind to
Absolutely.
make
I'll
sure
let you
because it
drive.
was right on the edge of that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's literally on the edge of the board perfectly. So
Perfect.
we should be
I've had them hang
good.
off a little bit. As long as you have the center of the cross, that's the only part that matters. So
Oh yeah,
I've
yeah,
had the
of course.
circles fall off the edge before, but
All right. Let's start. So you can click it to
okay.
next. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think you'll find that your results are a lot better now, or will be.
So I guess so. My concern would be then is it's great on this 5 millimeter wood, but getting the alignment perfected for paper, which is like much thinner.
Have you tried just autofocusing the bed and without the paper on it, and then just putting the paper on? Because that's so thin, it wouldn't matter. I mean, instead of trying to focus on the paper, whenever I do paper or mylar or things like that, I focus the bed with nothing on it, and then
Really?
I just lay the paper down. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean that would be
because technically your focus will only be off whatever the thickness of that paper is, or half the thickness of it, actually. But
okay.
yeah, it'd be worth a try.
Yeah.
And I won't update the ticket. We do keep all that service history. Uh, but after I make this video, this article, I'm going to link this video in the ticket, and that way we can refer back to it that way. So, but yeah,
Perfect.
I think you'll find this to be much improved. And I'll let you drive on clicking on shooting again, and go to. Oh yeah, you got it. Go ahead. I wonder if that might be a little bit out of focus. You could always play with that later. Um, but it's manual focus. You can twist the lens
Hmm.
to affect it. But if you do that, you might change you might have to reshoot this again. It looks good. I mean, that's what I'm hoping that 13 megapixel camera does. That because I had three different lenses sent with it, and I think if I can do it like that, you just pick the lens that you want and put it in there, whichever one's best for your machine, and I'll just have the preset calibrations uh, that we can slipstream into LightBurn, and that way you still don't have to use those dots. I don't know if you saw the old video before the lens presets, for the lens correction. You had
Oh,
to.
I have a paper printed out with dots next to me. I did
Oh,
that too.
so
I did the manual thing just
well,
in case.
let me ask you a question. Did you have to go get stitches after banging your head on the concrete? Because that's what that'll make you do. Those dots almost drove me insane.
Only one corner of the bed gave me
Yeah.
a real headache.
So,
It kept saying like the number it kicked out was like
yeah.
8,888, and they're like,
Yeah,
what?
the trick to that is to cover the bed with something light, a sheet or some towels or more wood or something, because the moire effect kind of plays in with that honeycomb, and Lightburn sees thousands of circles. So instead of 9 or 12 or however many's on the thing. So that's what throws it
Yeah,
off.
I did have the. I saw that on one of your videos where you were, you had another person you were troubleshooting. And they covered the bed, so I went through and I got nice big giant white paper and
Well,
covered the bed.
thank goodness Lightburn was thoughtful enough to put all of these presets in here. So that's a good thing.
All right.
And let's output another circle and compare it. And I think you'll find that it should be pretty much dead on.
I dropped the lid.
How about that? That's
That is,
not that's
that's
not
great.
bad.
You'd think the like 50 times that I did it before we talked that I would have figured this out because there wasn't really that much difference. Like,
Hey, you just had a perfect storm. You had some software things going on, and you had some camera movement going on. And if you don't split diagnose it and try to pull it apart into smaller things, yeah, it'll drive you crazy. So,
right, right. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll try the autofocus thing for this paper then
mhm.
when we're off the call, and
Okay. Well,
hopefully
sure.
that'll work out.
And well, I guess I'll get on to the next one. But if you have any more questions about this thing, you can just reply to the last thing in the email that you got about this ticket, and it'll automatically update. And if you have a new issue, you can just email support@thunderlaserusa.com, and that'll generate a ticket. We like to keep issues separate. We wouldn't want you to post a power supply problem in our chiller, in our camera thing, because we like to track where trends of part failures, or uh, maybe where there's some confusion on a video or something, and we can dial that kind of stuff in with our analytics, to help
Yeah,
bolster our service and support. So I appreciate you letting me
absolutely.
record this. This is going to be a wonderful, this is going to be gold, I think. So it'll help a lot of people.
Perfect.
All right.
Good, good.
Well,
Well, thank you for having such fabulous support. I appreciate it, Brian.
absolutely. You are most welcome. All right. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Uh huh.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.